My name is Alex. 2 years ago, I fell in love with a woman named Harper. We had been living together in my apartment for about a year. On the surface, it looked normal. Shared groceries, lazy Sundays, the small routines that quietly knit two lives together. But beneath that surface lived a different truth, a truth that would reveal itself in a single screenshot and transform everything. It started on a Monday morning. My phone buzzed with a screenshot from my friend Dave. No message, no caption, just a photo he grabbed from a private story. It was me, asleep on the couch from a weekend. Hair sticking up, mouth open, face unflatteringly softened by sleep. A terrible picture. The kind that makes you cringe even before you see the caption. Harper's caption read, "Imagine waking up to this every day." Under it, a stream of laughing emojis. Her best friend Mia had commented, "Time for a new one." The replies were cruel and delighted, like tiny knives used as entertainment. They weren't public followers posting for likes. This was her private circle. These were the people she trusted. I stared at the image for a long time. It wasn't anger that hit me first. It was a hush, like a shelf finally settling into place. I'd tolerated pokes before, the offhand critique about how I wasn't aesthetic enough for a feed, the little jabs and captions that were supposedly ironic. I'd laughed them off when we were out with friends. I'd told her she was crossing a line, and she'd called me sensitive, said I just didn't understand influencer humor. I had chalked it up to personality, to her public persona. This, though, was private. This was what she thought of me when she wasn't performing. I sat on my couch and felt the room go very, very quiet. It was the sound of a final piece clicking into place. We had been together 2 years. I had trusted her. I had paid the rent, held down the anchor of our life. And she posted me like a joke. I didn't call her. I didn't text. When Harper walked in later that afternoon, bubbly and smelling like brunch and someone else's perfume, I did what I always did. I asked about her day. I helped chop vegetables. I stood by while she chatted about a new collaboration and the party she'd been invited to next week. I played the part of the easygoing boyfriend. She had no idea she was living with a ghost. For the next 2 days, I played the part even better. I left little sticky notes. "Don't forget your keys." Dinner ready in 20. Small tendernesses that lulled her into thinking all was forgiven. She ate it up. She probably thought I was trying to be extra nice because I'd been oversensitive in the past. Little did she know my kindness was camouflage. I was buying time while I set a stage. Harper's life revolved around status. Not the kind you can buy with hard work, but the curated, pixel-perfect kind. For weeks she'd been obsessed with this new pop-up everyone's talking about, Alicia. The place was a cultural mirage, impossible to get into, elite, the kind of spot where a single photo from inside would earn you a month of clout. Harper had been talking about it nonstop, as if being seen would validate her entire existence. If I was going to respond, it had to be on her turf. Her world is image and applause. She valued the stage more than the people backstage. My revenge had to be public, humiliating, surgical. It needed to feel like her reputation was crumbling while everyone watched. But first, credibility. If I was going to take her down, I had to do it with precision. I've always been good with computers. Not a career hacker, but a meticulous problem solver. That Monday night, I made a replica of Alicia's invitation email. Fonts matched, logo in the right pixels, the same corporate tone. I created a backstory that tied the invitation to a PR company I used to work with. Plausible, professional, believable. It took hours. Tracking down old letterheads, matching color palettes, testing how the email displayed across phones. It had to be flawless. On Tuesday night, I staged a discovery. I left a fake email visible on my open laptop and went to take a shower. When I came back, Harper was practically vibrating. "Alex, you got us into Alicia?" She gasped, eyes wide. I shrugged. "Yeah, it came through. Tomorrow night." Her grin was radiant. I played cool. She didn't question it. Why would she? The chance of entry was validation made real. The next 24 hours were a blur of manic planning on her end. A dress ordered with same-day delivery. Hair and makeup appointments. Post scheduled. Captions drafted. Big surprise coming. You won't believe this. She live-streamed bits of it to followers, dropping hints and building a narrative she loved. I'd surprised her with the opportunity she dreamed of. Wednesday evening came. Harper looked incredible. She spent an hour doing selfies while I slipped into a suit. I booked a black car, a little indulgence because I knew she'd film every minute. As the car rolled toward the address I'd given the driver, she narrated to her audience, breathless. On our way to the most exclusive spot in the city. Can't wait to show you guys. Phone angles, filters, an excited vibrato in her voice. She was intoxicated with her own build-up. The driver pulled up to a renovated warehouse in the trendiest part of town, a single unmarked door guarded by a velvet rope. The place looked real, because I had paid to make it so. I'd hired actors, a bouncer who could posture like a real gatekeeper, a small queue of well-dressed people who would murmur and glance in just the right places, and a man to play a manager who could speak in that breezy, corporate tone. For 2 hours, I had rented the entryway and created a living set. Harper alighted, phone already streaming, and sashayed toward the rope. Reservation for 2. Harper Blake. She announced, dropping names like credentials. The bouncer checked his list, glanced at his clipboard. No Harper Blake. No Alex Collins either. Her smile faltered. Check again, she demanded. Her voice tightened. The camera on her phone was merciless, broadcasting the moment to thousands of people watching, expecting triumph. Panic softened her features. You have to be kidding, she said, slightly out of breath. The murmurs behind us swelled. A manager in a tailored suit appeared, suave and coldly sympathetic. He checked his tablet and said exactly what I had paid him to say. I am so sorry, ma'am. We've had problems with counterfeit invitations. There appears to be no record of your reservation. I'm afraid you may have been a victim of a prank. The words landed like gravel. And then, as the manager, in a voice slow enough for everyone to hear, suggested, I have to ask you to step back. You're holding up our guests. He did it gently, with the feigned sadness of someone who enjoys the theater of authority. Harper's face collapsed. She was humiliated, raw, and exposed while the camera kept rolling. People behind us whispered. A few followers posted live reactions. The part of her that mattered most, her audience, was seen collapse in real time. I stepped back. I lifted my phone and took a single photograph. Harper, shoulders tight, mascara melting, the velvet rope behind her like a stage barrier. I posted it to my account, which I rarely used, with a single line, her own words turned back on her. Imagine waking up to this every day. Then I turned and climbed into the car. We drove home in silence. When I unlocked the door, I flipped the locks I'd installed earlier in the week. Her key was a paperweight in her bag now, useless. I set the phone to airplane mode and watched the storm form in the distance. I knew it was coming. I built it to be inevitable. The knocking began later that night, furious and frantic. I checked the doorbell camera and watched her, erect, pounding the door with palms red from effort. But I didn't open it. I sat unmoved, letting the scream dissolve into the night until her voice broke and she slumped down on the stoop. The next morning, the feeds erupted. The first wave of narrative was predictable. I had overreacted. I had orchestrated some elaborate prank because I couldn't take a joke. Her friends, led by Mia, initiated a smear. Screenshots, tearful videos, rapid-fire posts that painted her as the victim of a manipulative boyfriend. My inbox filled with messages calling me unstable, the kind of language that cuts both personally and professionally. For a little while, the story painted me as the villain. I let them stew. I let the fake truth run its course. It's easier to defend a reputation than to salvage it in the middle of a feed storm. While they built their story, I quietly built mine. I knew Harper's whole life and career, tilted on one major partnership. She was an ambassador for a company called Alicia, a wellness and beauty brand that traded on authenticity and empowerment. That was a vulnerable hinge. She presented herself as a face of sincerity, while her behind-the-scenes life was, frankly, performative. I did what I had to. I did it late on a Thursday night with clinical calm. I looked through our shared cloud photos, the ones that backed up automatically, and I found a cache of images Harper had never meant anyone else to see. Publicly, she had been on a work trip to Miami months earlier. Privately, there were dozens of images that told a different story. Cocktails on a balcony with a man whose name she'd never told me about, receipts for dinners charged as business meetings, hotel photos tagged with intimate captions. In short, evidence that she'd been on a romantic trip, and then expensed part of it to Alicia as marketing. I composed an email. I addressed it directly to Alicia's head of brand partnerships. I kept my tone professional and spare. I attached a screenshot of Harper's mocking caption, and then the private photos, the dinner receipt, the travel itinerary. I explained the observed pattern. Public narratives of empowerment tied to private deception, expense claims that appeared misrepresented, and the brand risk she posed to a company that sold authenticity as its differentiator. I hit send, logged out, and went for a swim. The bomb had been planted. The aftermath was swift and merciless. Alicia reacted with corporate horror. Morality clauses were invoked. Partnerships were terminated. Lawyers were engaged. They demanded repayment for the Miami trip and open investigations into false expense claims. The brand publicly distanced itself from her, the kind of response that ripples through an influencer's network like a toxin. Harper's DMs filled with furious messages from a company she trusted. Her managers called. Her bookings evaporated. That curated life, sustained by brands and collaborations, was suddenly brittle. Within weeks, the alliances she relied on unraveled. Mia and the others who had rallied to her side watched as PR teams severed ties and contracts were voided. Followers who had once hung on every aesthetic post either turned away or attacked. Her feed, once pristine and glowing, became a war zone of angry comments and canceled brand deals. People she'd used for status disappeared overnight because they had no reason to stick around once the status was gone. Harper moved out within a month. She found a tiny apartment across town and, according to friend of friends, started bartending just to keep money flowing as legal bills mounted. I saw her once, weeks later at a stoplight, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, looking smaller than the persona she curated. She didn't see me. I didn't feel joy. I felt an odd, flat closure, the sense that I had removed a splinter and the wound was finally allowed to heal. It's been 6 months. The feeds are quieted. My life has returned to steady, beautiful ordinariness. Work that pays the bills and satisfies the part of me that builds things honestly. Friends who actually show up. A quieter apartment that finally stays mine. The best part is not the revenge itself, calculated as it was, but the way the world looks after the smoke clears. The lessons are simple and stubborn. Building your life on other people's perception is an unstable architecture. Weaponizing someone else's humiliation for entertainment always carries a cost. Harper used to wake up to applause. Now she wakes up to the consequences of a life stitched together with curated moments and borrowed credibility. I don't gloat about it. That wasn't why I did it. I wanted dignity back for myself. I wanted to stop being someone's punchline. When she posted me sleeping, I realized the person I loved was willing to degrade me for entertainment. So I took away the stage. I tell this story not to celebrate the fall of anyone, but to underline one truth. Respect matters. The social currency of likes and comments can feel intoxicating, but it's no substitute for real intimacy. If you value someone enough to share them in your private circles as a joke, you don't value them at all. And if you ever find yourself on the wrong end of someone else's performance, remember, quiet, deliberate choices can be the most effective response. People ask me if I regret how far I went. The short answer is no. Not because I enjoy causing harm, but because I learned to care for myself the way someone else should have. In the end, the point was never to ruin a life. It was to stop living as if my dignity were negotiable. So that Monday morning screenshot launched a chain reaction. A precise, calculated response that stripped the constructed persona of its foundation. I'm not proud of every detail. There are parts of that week I replay and wish had been gentler. But the loud, humiliating caption that sparked it? I'll never forget the quiet click I felt when I first saw it. The moment a man stopped being invisible in his own life and chose himself instead,